right, welcome to Live Impact News at 1 o'clock. Look very closely because I am not Connor Real. I know that's what you were thinking, but no. I'm Janet Roach. Connor is working the night shift today, so I'm going to try to steer this ship as my first time on Live Impact News, but it should be a lot of fun because we have a lot of things going on and a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things to learn as well. But we're going to start off with the forecast because, everybody is talking about what's coming this weekend. We want to know, oh, my goodness, we're hearing all this about a potential snowstorm. Taylor Stephenson is here, our meteorologist, and she's going to let us know. Taylor.
Janet, what's going on?
Oh, my gosh. What is going on? I mean, this sounds like it's going to be pretty serious, huh?
So we're expecting moderate to major impacts and disruption to travel and daily life Saturday night into the day on Sunday as a snowstorm brews here in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. So we're just trying to prepare people for what they need to know because we know for right now that we are at least going to get 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. The higher totals, the Weather Service has said there is a probability, a 60% chance that places like Virginia Beach and Norfolk could see more than 8 inches of snowfall with this event. So we're going to talk about what's going on now. And I wish that on satellite and radar I could show you what's going on because our winter weather storm hasn't even brewed yet. It's not even a system right now I can track for you. That won't even be something that we can track until we get into the later parts of this week. Right now we have a couple of cold fronts that are offshore. One of them rolled through our area earlier this morning and brought us another push of cold air. And while it's colder, it's dry. So for those who may be like, I don't want to be outside today, it's too cold, I get that. But I want you to enjoy the sunshine while you can because we get into this weekend and things deteriorate pretty quickly. For the rest of the day, I want to go through this quickly so we can get into the nitty gritty of the forecast for the weekend. Temperatures right now are sitting in the upper 30s and lower 40s. That's as best as we'll do throughout the day. We should usually be around the lower 50s. So this is going to be a cooler than normal day with sunshine that will be pretty abundant. We get into tonight, and because we stay mainly clear, that will allow for the earth to really cool down. So by 8 to 9 p.m., temperatures are already back into the 20s and lower 30s. Overnight tonight, expect teens inland with lower to middle 20s to start off the day tomorrow. So a very chilly day for us to start off for your Wednesday, but you'll notice by the afternoon, it's significantly warmer. It's going to be noticeable. Temperatures will be back near 50 degrees by the afternoon, right where we should be for this time of year. Lots of sunshine in place for the morning, and then increasing cloud cover during the afternoon and evening. We get warmer on Thursday, back in the mid-50s with the cloud cover sticking around, but we'll be mainly dry. A couple of showers may linger in the area for Thursday and Friday, but that's all ahead of the main event. I want to stop here now to ask both you, Janet, and our producer, Naya Campbell, if y'all have any questions about the forecast from now through Thursday and Friday.
Sounds pretty straightforward. It's not like cold just yet, but
right.
Yeah, we're bracing for the weekend and into next week as well. That's going to be kind of like a really cold stretch.
Yeah. Any questions for you, Naya?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Okay, cool.
I'm ready to see what this weekend is about to be.
Okay, let's talk about the weekend because I think that's what everybody is really focused on, right? This weekend event, but again, very quiet work week. Okay, let's get into the weekend. Here are the winter storm headlines, and know that these are likely to change. So we know that forecast, the confidence is increasing in this forecast for the region to be hit by what could be a moderate to major winter storm. What we do know is that the cold air will be in place. That's one of the more difficult things about this region of the country. You go up I-95 to like Philadelphia and New York City, and it's already going to be cold. So it's easier for them to get snow because we know that the cold air is going to be here. We kind of teeter that line between 30s and 40s sometimes, and that can make all the difference in what type of precipitation we see during the winter time. We know say again, Jenna, go ahead.
Yeah, I said absolutely.
Yeah. So we know for this event in particular that highs at best on Saturday and Sunday will be 30 to 32 degrees. That's a high temperature. I'm not even talking about what's going to be at night when we're going to be dipping down into some places could probably be in the teens, but most areas in the 20s. That's cold enough to support winter weather. So we know that we have the cold air in place. That's not the problem. So we know that late Saturday night into Sunday morning will be the coldest time during this winter weather event. Heavy snow is likely, but depending on the track of the system and the timing will determine whether we see freezing rain, which could be a major issue, sleet, or cold rain. And the track and timing will likely fluctuate as we head throughout the week. We have seen just from this time yesterday to today that the track has slid a little bit further north. What that means is that we may see that mix over from snow during the nighttime Saturday into Sunday morning. By Sunday afternoon, may becoming freezing rain or sleet, and that could cause some major travel issues. As a meteorologist, I would rather see us all have heavy snow than to see freezing rain, because ice is much worse than having snow. Very easy to plow snow, even though it could be heavy. At least we know that we can get it off the roads. Ice, when it freezes, especially freezing rain, those are rain droplets that freeze on contact. That means that you will have slippery conditions. A lot of travel will be hazardous, and that also could cause tree branches to come down, power lines to be weighed down, and that may lead to power outages. Good news is, for at least our region of the country, we're not expecting widespread ice. We'll be talking to some meteorologists down in the deep south, like Atlanta, where they're expecting an ice storm. And especially from someone who is from Atlanta, that is going to be crippling for a city like Atlanta, because we don't have the infrastructure to support really snow. But you talk about ice, it gets even worse. So we'll be, communicating with our friends over at WXIA 11 Alive. We'll be communicating with those at WUSA who are also anticipating snow this weekend. And you can tune into that right here on 13 News Now Plus on the weather desk Thursday and Friday, and those will be hour-long shows to give you the latest information on this winter weather. So right now, here's the winter storm impacts this weekend. Right now, we are talking at least a moderate winter storm, but we really do think that there will be major impacts with this throughout not only Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina, also going into the Richmond area as well. So this is going to be a widespread snowfall and storm event. You head into central North Carolina, and they're talking more ice than anything. So places like Raleigh, even down into Charlotte. So it could be a pretty nasty setup for this weekend. And this is going to be a widespread snowstorm. I keep talking about Virginia and North Carolina just because that's our area. But this snowstorm starts all the way out in Oklahoma and Texas. And then makes its way all the way east, spreading through Louisiana and Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, all the way up through the Carolinas and coming to Virginia. This starts during the next couple of days there in the Central Plains and moves our direction this weekend. So we will hear many more reports from our reporters who are out in the Central Plains about the beginnings of what's coming our direction. And it's also one thing that as meteorologists we like to do is to take this forecast and watch what's happening before us. See what's happening before us. Because when we see what's going on here in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina later on, we can kind of keep track of what has already happened to what may happen here. Once that system forms, we can see where it's positioned. That positioning will determine the track a little bit better. It also will help to determine whether we see more snow or less snow, more ice or less ice, when the rainfall may come through, all of those things. So after talking your head off about all of that, let's talk about the actual timing of the system, because a lot of people probably want to know, when is this event going to start? So if you see the dark gray, those are clouds. The bright white, purples, that's snow. The pink, that is going to be your freezing line, so that's going to be ice or sleet. And the green is rain. So walking you through the European model, this is just one model, but one thing we've noticed is that the European model has significantly pushed back the timeline. Yesterday, around this time, it had snow already through Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. Now it's bringing the snowfall overnight. What that will do is actually maybe increase our snowfall totals, because, and this is just basic meteorology, temperatures get colder overnight.
Yeah.
The colder the temperatures, the higher the snowfall totals go. We call that a snow ratio. So if the temperatures go down during the night to the 20s, then it's likely that we could see lighter, fluffier snow that builds up higher than a very heavy, wet snow when temperatures are in the lower to middle 30s. So if this snowfall then comes overnight, that could lead to higher snowfall totals. So you can see the snow building in. This is Sunday morning, where it could be heavier at times, right around 6 a.m. That freezing line, that pink line, I'll take my little cursor out here so I can kind of point it out so you're not just having to listen to my voice. You see that freezing line right about here is over the Outer Banks, but the rest of the area, that's all snow. That's
Okay.
6 a.m. Okay, so 6 a.m. Sunday.
Okay.
We get into Sunday afternoon right around noon, and you see that freezing line starting to creep closer and closer. This is Virginia Beach. This is Norfolk. You can see it creeping slowly to the north and west. But still widespread snowfall all the way through the Commonwealth up into West Virginia, up into D.C. as well, with cold rain for the Outer Banks. That's Sunday around lunchtime. We get to Sunday evening, and you can really see where that system is just offshore of the Outer Banks down here. My kind of cursor is kind of blinking in and out. But you can see it right about here is a system where the lines are getting closer and closer. This is the freezing line. And it goes through the peninsulas now. Once we get that switch over into a sleet and cold rain, the snow event stops. It's unlikely that we'll go back to snow at that point. Okay. But it will be a very cold rain. The other thing is we know temperatures are going to be in the 30s.
Yeah.
So any snow that falls will stick. Especially because temperatures will be plummeting throughout the week, the work week. We get into Saturday morning, and we're talking morning temperatures in the 20s. So the ground will already be cold enough to see that snowfall sticking. So then we continue through Monday morning.
Goodness.
This very early Monday morning, it continues, right? So this is a prolonged event. We're talking at least 24 to 48 hours. This is midnight on Monday. And you can see that the cold rain continues. The system finally moves out, and I can show you where the center is now. That's the center. So you can see that it moved from here all the way up here. That's the center.
Now,
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Is that freezing rain on Monday morning? That pink?
The pink is either sleet or freezing rain.
Yeah. So the morning commute
Will be
Monday could
be a mess. Yes.
right.
Yes.
You cannot play with ice.
You cannot play with ice at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all. And especially for those like me, I worked a very early morning shift. You talk about ice during a dark point in the day, you can't see anything.
You can't see
and you're talking black ice at that. So I want people to be super careful. And again, the Weather Service already called for significant travel disruptions. I've even had to talk to my dad, who's actually flying in tonight, who's supposed to leave on Saturday. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know for you. Just because I know that, thankfully, at least what I've noticed in our local area, which I'm really appreciative of, is that they listen to meteorologists. And so they're going to take precautions to shut down the airport, I'm sure, for a moment in time.
Oh, wow.
You know, if this situation does develop the way we're thinking, right? This happened the same thing for me last year with the 12 inches of snowfall we got in February. And I had a flight the day after all the snow fell. We were delayed by 3 hours. They still got us off the ground, which is great. But it's going to take them some time to clear the tarmac. It's going to take them some time to actually clear it up. If it's ice, it's going to take even longer. You have to de-ice the planes. You have to make sure the tarmac is not slippery, because that can lead to other issues. We're focused on people's safety more than making sure, you know, that vacation is on time, right? We want to make sure that you're okay first.
If you have people who have like travel plans, like this weekend, or if there's something that you were supposed to do, it's a good time to like rethink and reschedule.
Yes.
Go ahead and start thinking about that, and not trying to squeeze something in and then end up regretting it because of some travel disaster.
Exactly. And I've even talked to some people who are trying to go to North Carolina. That situation's worse than ours.
Yeah.
I'd rather us have snow
all day
than ice.
And
And Janet, I'm sure you've been through many events where it has just been ice.
Yeah,
and it's been the worst.
Especially when I was a kid. I see the pink all over North Carolina, where my home is like in between Raleigh and Charlotte, in the central part of the states where I grew up, High Point, Greensboro. And we had ice storms all the time back then. And I just remember the icicles would be hanging from like the shelters, 5 inches long. And people say that people can't drive in the South. Oh, you can't drive. But you know what? They can't drive in the North.
Right.
I lived in Milwaukee for 3 years. And whenever it would ice, it was a mess, pileups and accidents on the interstate. And so ice is just something where when you're driving in it, it's about, you have to pray. You know? So.
And it's just best to avoid all that, just stay inside. And, if we didn't have to, I'm sure if we didn't have to be here because we're the ones who are helping you through the event, I would tell you, as someone taking myself outside of work, I would be inside all day long. I make sure I have food now. I get my food on Thursday when it's the warmest. And then I stockpile for the weekend and stay inside all weekend long.
Oh, the grocery stores are going to be packed later this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the grocery store today.
Today, tomorrow is probably your best bet. Thursday, I'm saying, is probably your last day. Friday's going to be a hot mess because I already know that a lot of people, I'm a procrastinator too, I procrastinate.
Yeah.
People are going to procrastinate till Friday, especially because a lot of times people get off on Friday, they're going to do their chores for the weekend. Let's get out of that mode and let's try to go to the grocery store today, tomorrow, or Thursday.
Gosh.
So that you don't have to, figure out why are they running out of products? Why don't we have this or that, Of course, you always know the non-perishable items, and milk and bread go first.
Yeah.
So
And the eggs. Oh my God, they go crazy on the
yes,
eggs.
paper towels, toilet paper. You need to get that as soon as you can do that, just because we are, from all meteorologists across, our team of meteorologists and the weather service, we are all thinking this is going to be an impactful event. And again, if this becomes an ice event, that's even more impactful than a snow event.
Yeah.
So 5 a.m. Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
What's next?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have the low pressure system offshore of the Outer Banks. Do you see that circle, that closed circle? That is the center of low pressure.
Okay.
So do you see how much it's spread out? All of this moisture it's pulling in. This is a very strong system. We get into Monday around 7 a.m., 8 a.m., things start to really taper off for us. We get into the rest of the day, and we're talking with much drier conditions, but temperatures will be at best in the lower 30s. So anything that falls, again, will stay around. So here are the snow models and the odds and the potentials of seeing snow. So in this first column is greater than 1 inch of snowfall. And these are the three different types of models we can see.
Everybody says 100%.
Yeah, everything is 100. This is the European model. This is the GFS model, which is our American model, or the Global Forecast System. And then this is the European AI model. Okay, so we're now starting to use AI in meteorology, and the AI models are actually doing very well. But all of them saying, as Janet just mentioned, she's our resident meteorologist, 100% chance of snowfall for at least 1 inch or more. With that, we knew. You get into 3 inches of snowfall, and they're saying 70 to 90 to 100% chance of at least 3 inches. We know that.
Okay.
This is where we get into, okay, is it going to be 6 to 8, 8 to 12? That's where we're kind of trying to refine it. Most models saying a medium to high confidence, or 60 to 80% chance of at least 6 or more inches of snowfall. Then you get into a situation like last year where we had 12, 13 inches of snowfall. That looks to be a little bit more unlikely, at least here in Hampton Roads. And Southern Virginia and through Richmond, that actually may be a possibility of more than a foot of snow. Just not for our area.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's some relief.
Yes. But again, this
bit.
is just model data. This is just a guide. This is not our forecast snowfall totals. We usually have our snowfall map. We haven't made that yet because we're going to give it some time, the system some time to get closer to the actual event day. But right now, I've put the general, and so has Tim, 7 to 12 inches, just generally.
Okay.
So let's
That's
get a
lot.
look at the models. Okay. This is just the snowfall from one model. This is the American model. This takes us all the way through Sunday around midnight. And I actually might even pull that into a little bit. Let's see if I can make this through. Actually, we're going to do Monday morning since the timeline's a little bit slower. I'm going to do Monday around 8 a.m.
Okay.
So here's a look at the models again. And this is why I like Live Impact News sometimes, because I can actually edit graphics in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
instead
chill
of like,
here.
very chill. Because on air, I don't have enough time to go back and edit graphic if I want to do something different with it. Okay, so here's the American model, and it shows the snow spreading throughout the area through Monday morning. And you can see a wide spread on the south side, 6 to 10 inches of snowfall. You get into the northeastern North Carolina area, it may be, 8 to 12 inches. The peninsula's less, which is kind of a little bit backwards than most days, but 5 inches or so.
Okay.
So that's one model. And I'm going to save this, and then we're going to go to our other model. So that's just one model. Again, I don't want anybody who is watching this right now to be like, I'm taking this and I'm running to the bank. Don't do that, because
not on a Tuesday.
Not on a Tuesday, especially for an event that doesn't happen until Saturday night.
Right.
For those who, especially because a lot of people tune in for a winter weather event. as a meteorologist who's been doing this for 5 years, and went to the University of Oklahoma, the models are only pretty accurate up to about 48 to 72 hours, which is 2 to 3 days. Once you get beyond that, things are likely to change. And I wish there was examples I could pull of how many times we've, forecasted just basic high temperatures and they fluctuated once we got closer to the event because the details get more refined.
But the thing about this one that concerns me is that the system is so big. You know how we can usually say, okay, if it moves a little to the north or it moves just a little bit to the south, it might just miss us.
Right.
But it's, the system is like all over the place.
It is. It's so widespread. I mean, it's going to be a multi-state event from the same exact system.
Are you able to zoom out on the map and see like where it's coming from?
In terms of snowfall, I can try. Give me 1 second while I do this one. I'll try to do that next. Okay, so here's a look at the snowfall potential for the European model. And I love how locked in y'all are. I appreciate all the questions. So here's snowfall potential for the European model from Saturday through Monday morning. And you can see the snowfall totals are pretty similar. 6 to 10 inches on the south side.
Yeah.
8 to 12 in northeastern North Carolina. You see the higher totals, those brighter pinks and the purples for central Virginia and central North Carolina, where they may get, over a foot, but a general 6 to 10 inches of snowfall. So for Hampton Roads, that's a pretty big snow event for us. May not be so much for people who may be listening in the Northeast, but for here, 6 to 10 inches is enough to at least disrupt our life for a day or two.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can show you and pull this system out here. Oop, wrong direction.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked is because I know like so many people that are not even in Hampton Roads tap into live impact news sometimes. So I'm like, they're probably looking like, she's talking about how widespread it's going to be. What about me here? And
okay, you won't get any numbers with this. yeah, it's true. You won't get any numbers with this, but I can show you where it starts. Okay, so here's Saturday, and actually I'll make this timeline go a little bit further back so you can see when it really starts. We'll go to Thursday. Okay. So here's a look at Thursday. And nothing.
That looks good.
We're fine. But remember,
That's
this is
beautiful.
just snowfall potential. This is not showing ice.
Oh,
Ice is also developing at this time.
Okay.
So the ice is going to be a little bit further south. So you see this is Friday around 9 a.m. Snow starts in Oklahoma.
But what is that over near us? I see this blue stuff. Is that just rain?
Yeah, probably a couple of showers.
Right.
And if it's cold enough during the night, that may be just for that area. But that's not the system itself. But maybe a little bit of rainfall. Because we are expecting a few isolated showers late Thursday and part of the day on Friday.
Okay.
Good question. So this is Friday evening. This is Oklahoma through Texas. And for those who may not, U.S. geography, there's a lot of states. Oklahoma is the one that looks like a pan. Okay, the little panhandle. And one to the east of it that is kind of like a abnormally looking rectangle, that is going to be Arkansas. You get into the state next to it, the long rectangle, that's Tennessee. Okay, so Arkansas is seeing some heavier snowfall. Continuing through Tennessee, this is Saturday night. So you see how it starts all the way over there in those purple colors in places like Oklahoma City, Little Rock, and Memphis. That's Saturday night. Here we are Sunday morning, around 8 a.m., the Appalachian region of North Carolina. That's where some of those snowfall totals there near Asheville, some projections are 20 inches of snowfall.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
they're
literally
more used to it over there.
multi-state.
It's
like,
it's literally multi-state, and this
Yeah.
is a great way, good thinking I have like showing this. It's really multi-state. This is Sunday morning, so we're not even seeing the highest totals quite yet. You get into Sunday afternoon, this is around 3 p.m. You can see our snowfall totals starting to grow in Virginia and North Carolina, but that bullseye is Southern Virginia and Western North Carolina. Now, I do want to point out here in places in Georgia, in Alabama, where you're seeing like those lighter blues, that's snow for like the Blue Ridge Mountains and stuff like that. Below that may be a big ice event. And I'll show you the ice potential in just a moment. But then we get through Monday morning, and you can see that, we're going to have snow cover for the majority of the lower 48.
Gosh. Yeah.
The only place I don't see snow potential at this moment from this map in this view is Florida. Yeah, literally. It's just Florida.
Every state is being touched there, at least in that shot.
Yes. So let's go ahead and look at ice potential. Let's go ahead and look at this. Give me 1 second while I pull this up.
And that's all at the same time.
Because over the course of like 3 days.
Florida's gonna feel so left out.
Are they? I would rather probably be in Florida.
Florida's gonna be like, yes,
no snow, no ice. Okay, here is a look at the ice potential. So this is the European model, ice potential. Oh, sorry, I have to redo this real quickly.
Oh, we like the zeros.
Zeros for now, right? That's Friday morning. We get into Friday, Saturday morning. We're good. Saturday around the morning, still fine.
Morning.
Saturday night,
okay.
We're okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Sunday. I feel like this graphic is not updating because this. Oh, there we go. So we get into Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, and the models show the ice potential growing. This takes us through Monday morning. So we may get 1/10 of an inch of ice for places around the eastern south side. But look at Ahoskie and Emporia. Almost 1/2 inch of ice. That's pretty crippling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But then in central North Carolina, those purples, those bright pinks, talking maybe 1 inch of ice? That's a lot of ice. And that's something that you really cannot do anything about. No. And unfortunately, again, temperatures going to be so cold that anything that melts during the day with sunlight or temperatures just above freezing will refreeze overnight.
Yeah.
But at least for us here in Hampton Roads, our ice potential looks to be much lower than central North Carolina. So we will be thinking about our friends in North Carolina for sure as they go through this event because they could get the worst of this storm. But for here in Hampton Roads, northeastern North Carolina, according to the European model, this should be a mainly snow event.
Okay. So. But, the thing is it can snow, and then you just get that one layer of ice on top of it. And that's all it takes to make dangerous become extremely dangerous.
Yes.
So just the fact that it's in there at all is concerning. Yeah. And then I guess the other thing is I can't remember how many years ago it was, but we had a pretty decent snowfall and the temperatures, because usually around here it snows and then by morning time the next day it's like 50 degrees and everything just starts melting. But this was a few years ago where it stayed like in the 30s for a week. And it was a mess, and there were certain areas that were not plowed. It never got plowed. And certain main streets that stayed ice packed and, slushy and like for 3 days or so. And the kids were out of school forever and it felt like it anyway. And it almost sounds like we might have an event very similar to that because the temperatures next week are.
And I'll give you a look at the temperatures next week. That's a really good point, Janet. For those, I talked to one of my teacher friends. She was like, are we going to have school? I was like, you may get a couple days off just because the temperatures will be so low. Here's a look at the temperature trend over the next 10 days. So I know that it may be cold outside now with upper 30s. I'm going to try my best to appreciate the upper 30s while we have them. We're going to be back in the mid 50s by Thursday, and then everything comes crashing down with that system. Saturday and Sunday, highs at best in the lower 30s. We may not even get above freezing until Tuesday. And that's barely.
And that's barely.
Right. Because freezing is 32 degrees. So we may get barely above freezing on Tuesday. But if most of the day is near or below freezing, most of that stuff will stay frozen.
And these are the highs.
These are the high temperatures.
My God.
Yes. These are the high temperatures. And our average high temperature for this time of year is 50 degrees. So we're going to be about 15 to 20 degrees below normal. It may not even be till Wednesday where we get close to 40. Wednesday of next week.
And that may not be enough to melt much.
No.
And then it goes back down on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
So next week is going to be a slow week.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be a very slow week.
Yes.
Grab your board games.
Yeah, I got some books ready.
Oh, I have a book too.
Yeah, I got my books ready. But I'm sure as a meteorologist, I'm going to be in the thick of it. I don't got no time to read. It's going to be work and sleep.
Yeah.
So that's a look at the high temperatures. I want to give you a look at the low temperatures because Naya mentioned that. These are what's going to be the warmest, I'm going to cool air quotes, warmest throughout the week. You get into the evening time and the overnights and we get even colder. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast. I call this a roller coaster, right? Because we're kind of like the chugga, like up the hill. And we're going to reach the top of the roller coaster on Thursday and everything, the huge slide down.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. You might scream a little bit too on the way down. But temperatures will be in the lower to middle 30s on Saturday and Sunday. But look at the morning temperatures. Those are the small numbers next to the highs. 19 degrees for the morning temperatures on Sunday. That means if it's 19 degrees near the coast where the water keeps us warmer, inland's probably closer to 10, 12 degrees. And again, I want to show this graphic here. We'll come back to the 7-day forecast really quickly later on. But I want to show this because I was talking about snow, and I'll explain this in one of our shows later on this week. I produced a weather story about snow ratios. And snow ratios are a way to estimate potential snowfall totals. And basically what happens is you take into account the air temperature in relation to how much water would fall on a given day if it was rain.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so liquid water and the air temperature. We are projecting that we could have an inch of water or more in this event. So we're going to take an inch as our basic math. So if you have temperature slightly above freezing, which it doesn't have to be 32 degrees for it to snow. If you have temperatures slightly above freezing, the ratio is 5-1. So for every 1 inch of water in the air, in the atmosphere that can be squeezed out, on the ground, that would translate to 5 inches of snowfall.
Oh.
Because snow, again, is lighter, right? So it's going to translate to frozen precipitation up to 5 inches. If you have temperatures just below freezing at 30 degrees, the ratio is about 10-1, meaning for every 1 inch of water that can be squeezed out of the atmosphere, that will produce 10 inches of snowfall. Our snow ratios for this scenario right now are 10-1 or as high as about 13-1, meaning that for the 1 inch of water we probably have in Hampton Roads, we can maybe squeeze, if it all falls as snow, could be up to about 10 inches. Maybe even higher totals up to about 12 to 13 in this event. Now, overnight, if we have that 1 inch of water overnight and temperatures that I just showed you were in the teens in the snowfalls, ratios could be as high as 20-1, which means for every 1 inch of water, you get 20 inches of snow.
Oh, gosh. No, stop.
Right. And so the middle one, the 10-1, or the 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of water, is a typical snow ratio. That's typically what most snow events are, 10-1. But again, if temperatures are lower, because remember our high temperatures on Sunday are 30, so meaning we'll be in the 20s, we can have snow ratios, 13-1, 14-1, 15-1. But again, that's all if it all falls as snow.
Okay.
Yes.
Like the ratio can change.
Absolutely.
But
yes,
it'll change maybe an hour later. So it'll like it can be 13-1, but then an hour later it's like 8-1 or something.
Right, exactly. And it all depends on, like, once we get closer to the event, this is just a projection of how much water we could have. We may get to the event and we may only have half an inch of water in the atmosphere. So a 10-1 ratio in that case would be only 5 inches of snow, right? Because you take half of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, if you only have half an inch of water in the atmosphere and you still have a 10-1 ratio, you only get half of that amount of what we see on a day with
okay.
an inch of water, in comparison. So, I'm trying to make this, it's a lot of math, and I'm trying to make this as simple as possible.
I get it. I get that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, again, the less amount of water we have, the less snowfall totals will be. The colder the temperatures, though, the higher those snowfall totals go. This is just an estimate, though. This is not like we're saying 10 inches on the spot.
Yeah.
This is just an estimate of what we think. But according to our thinking, the Weather Service's thinking, the ratios are going to be 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of water, or as high as about 13 inches of snow for every 1 inch of water. So that would equate, again, as I showed you, to about 6 to 12 inches of snowfall that I showed you on those maps. And you can't see Janet, but she is, like, not happy about this.
No, it's not like when we were kids and you get all excited because you could play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
you get a
it's,
day off.
I'm just
Yep.
thinking about driving.
Yeah. Well, good news is, especially because I feel like coming from my last area, I worked in Georgia, and I'm from Georgia. Virginia does a very good job of pre-treating roads.
Yeah.
Even for this
Okay.
past weekend, to me.
Yeah.
Even from this past weekend, they had brine all over the place
Yeah.
in Norfolk. So knowing that they took last weekend seriously and we got like a flake, then I know that they're going to take this weekend fairly seriously.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
confident
Yeah.
that they will at least pre-treat the roads. Now, of course, pre-treating the roads doesn't mean snow won't stick. It's
Right.
going to be harder to stick, but they'll still have to plow the roads.
And keep plowing. They'll,
They'll have to keep plowing. Now, for those who may not live near a major highway or a major road, those secondary and those subsequent roads are not going to be plowed.
Yeah, even your neighborhood. Wherever you live, you're on a neighborhood street. Don't expect, your street just getting to your car and could be pretty tricky for several days.
Yeah. And also, one thing I want to mention to people, if you do have to go out, do not drive with snow on your windshield.
Yeah.
Please do not do that. Take the time to scrape it off. This is also the perfect time. If you're heading to the grocery store today, get a nice scraper. Get a scraper, some type. I have a mini little scraper that can get in there. But you need to make sure that you clear your car off, because all of that flying heavy snow can damage other people's cars.
Yeah.
And it can cause very hazardous conditions while
And
driving.
visibility issues too. When
Yes.
it slopes down on your windshield and you're in the middle of the highway, suddenly you can't see. And you gotta get the wipers on. Yeah. So clear the car. That's something that we always say.
Right.
And then I'm sure we'll get into like driving tricks. How to handle if you skid and that type of thing. When you see those stories from other states when they have bad snowstorms and you see the pileups and the things that happen.
Yeah.
That is every time I see that, that's enough to make me say, "Let me stay home."
Exactly. Wasn't it in Michigan? Was it yesterday? They had 100
115?
car.
Yeah.
100 car pileup is insane.
Yeah, and it can happen so quickly.
Yes, it can, and it can be dangerous. Thankfully, from the reports I saw, no one died, so that was good. But there were injuries. Obviously, that's unfortunate. I'm just glad that no one passed away in that situation. But there's been many situations where you have multi-car pileups and people lose their lives in those situations.
Yep. Happens every winter, all the time.
Yeah.
We always hear about that.
So let's get one last look at the 7-day forecast real
Okay.
quick, Naya. And so I just want to give people an overview of what to expect for the next 7 days. And you can see temperatures are in the upper 30s today, sunny through tomorrow, and even mainly dry through Thursday. Temperatures in the mid 50s by Thursday, and then we are bracing for that winter weather for the weekend. Weather impact alerts are in effect for Saturday and Sunday. I could see that being changed to, Saturday night, all day Sunday, Monday morning, since the models are saying that this system may linger into Monday morning. But just keep up with updates. I'm just one of a group of 5. So there are 4 other highly qualified meteorologists who will walk everyone through this through the course of the day, today and through the entire event. Of course, increasing our staffing and our timing so that we can keep you all safe during this time. But it seems like for Hampton Roads, this may be the first major winter weather event we'll have of the season.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at one thing in that 7 day.
Yes, ma'am.
I see the 46 on Friday.
Yes.
And then the big drop to 32. So that's 14 degrees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it possible it could be just 35?
It could be possible, but probably unlikely.
Okay.
Especially depending on the timing of the snow. Snow actually adds, or in layman's terms, snow actually makes the air colder. So if snow starts to fall during the afternoon, it actually will cool temperatures down.
And it definitely will fall below 32 once nightfall hits.
Oh, yes. We're talking temperatures below 20. Okay. And that's not just for Sunday. Monday morning, even colder, temperatures near 18 degrees in Norfolk. And temperatures inland near probably 10 to 12 degrees. And then it's windy on top of that. Wind chills are probably going to be in the single digits easily. Some places probably near 0, closer to I-95.
I'm looking for a way we can escape this. So,
Well, maybe we should plan a trip to the Bahamas. I think it's the only way to escape this.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
as we showed the graphic that Naya requested, it's all throughout the United States. You can't really go anywhere in the lower 48 that won't see at least some type of impact. Now, if you head towards the Gulf Coast, they're talking heavy rainfall, but still, I mean, heavy rainfall, heavy snow, ice, I don't want any of it, you know? So and most people will not be able to escape this.
Trips to Florida just went up.
Yeah, I know. The prices are probably through the roof to go to Miami now.
No, gosh. Okay, well, we can't go. We'll be right here.
Yeah, we'll be right here walking you through it, of course. I know we joke, but I mean, that we're here to really keep everyone prepared for this winter event, to make sure that everybody knows what they need to know. And again, as we talked about earlier, prepare now. And I say that to be, my motto is be prepared, not scared, right? So it's time to prepare. Just make sure you're going to the grocery store now. Make sure you get all the supplies you need now, because these are the easier days to get to the store. Most things will probably be stocked. You get to about Friday or even Thursday night, and things will probably start to be less stocked. You're running into a little bit more chaos as people are kind of probably being a little bit more flustered, a little bit more anxious. But hopefully, as we look through this forecast, hopefully the forecast track keeps that system a little bit further south and we get a widespread snowfall event. That is my hope for this situation, so that we just all have a few snow days and we can kind of move on. Of course, we'll be talking to our sister stations in North Carolina, Georgia, about the ice event that they'll be preparing for, which will be probably a much worse situation.
Yeah. We have two sister stations in North Carolina,
Yes.
Charlotte and Greensboro, and they are right in the center of this.
Yes, and then
So-
Atlanta's also in the center of the ice as well.
Atlanta.
So we have our sister station down there as well.
and a sister station in Washington, D.C., and they're in it too.
Yes,
So,
but snow. Yes.
Yeah, but
So again, like you said, multi-state. I mean, we're talking Georgia all the way up through the District of Columbia.
And I like
Hey.
your motto. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like your motto, prepared, not scared, because this is not to fear monger. It's not to make everyone run out to the stores anxious and scared. It's just letting you know what to be prepared for.
And that's how I try to live as a meteorologist. My job is not to
Overhype,
overhype the weather. It's not my job.
Thank
My
you.
job is just to literally be the scientist who interprets the information, because that's what I've been trained to do, to give you the information in layman's terms so you know what to prepare for, right? And with so much confidence this far out of having a widespread snowfall event of 6 to 10 inches, we can't just ignore this, right?
Yeah.
And we have to give you this information now. If things trend down and we're like, oh, this may only be 3 to 4 inches, we'll let you know. And we're not trying to overhype the weather in that sense anyways, right? We're not trying to say, oh my gosh, listen to us, it's going to be up to 12 inches and then it gets down to 4. We'll tell you why that happened, right? And we're not going to shy away from being transparent. But I do want to prepare people for what could be a couple days where you may not be able to travel too far.
Right. Yeah, good advice. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Of
You've
course.
done a wonderful job
Of
laying
course, you're
this
welcome.
out.
Thank you.
Excellent. As we know exactly what to expect, but we know that things could change because, yes, it is only Tuesday.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
So
Thank you for
am I.
having me.
Yeah, well, on my first day on Live Impact, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Taylor. All right.
You're
I know
welcome.
we're waiting for a White House briefing coming in from the White House. It was supposed to start at 1, right, Naya?
Yeah,
At
it
1
was supposed
o'clock?
to start at 1.
Okay. It is 1:44. It hasn't started as of yet, but hey, we'll kind of look out for that. One of the things I was going to mention is, from the weekend, I covered the inauguration. Today is the third full day of Abigail Spanberger's time as governor, and she's been moving pretty quickly. I interviewed her about 2 weeks ago, and this past weekend I covered the inauguration in Richmond. It was full of pomp and circumstances, ceremonial, nice ceremony. The parade was lively. It ended with the NSU band. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, they were great. It was really nice. And at that time, the sun finally came out because it was kind of rainy, a little drizzle during the actual ceremony part, but it got nice and lively, and the sun came out, although it was chilly. Now, one of the things that she talked about in her speech, when she gave her inauguration speech, she said the history and the gravity of this moment are not lost on me, knowing that she is the first woman to take this position. And she reached out to all the former governors who were there. They were all there except for Chuck Robb, because, in Virginia, you could only serve for 4 years, so there were quite a few. Tim Kaine was there, Mark Warner, Ralph Northam, Bob McDonald, George Allen, Jim Gilmore, and Glenn Youngkin, of course. And she gave a special shout out to the 66th governor, Doug Wilder, who was celebrating his 95th birthday on that day. So cool. And that was so cute when he stood up and waved when she gave him the shout out. Of course, he was the first African American elected as governor in the country way back in 1989. And then in 1990, 36 years ago, he stood on the steps of the Capitol and took the oath as the 66th governor of the Commonwealth. And now, so yesterday, she spoke to the General Assembly for the first time. And we wanted to play a little bit of that. Let's maybe roll some of that while we're waiting on the White House briefing.
Sounds good to me.
And guests, please be seated. As Speaker of the House of Delegates and President of the Joint Assembly, it is my pleasure to present to you Her Excellency, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Honorable Abigail Davis Spanberger.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Lieutenant Governor, Madam President Pro Temp, members of the General Assembly, Mr. Attorney General, Justices of the Supreme Court, members of the Cabinet, our clerks, honored guests, and most importantly, our fellow Virginians. 2 days ago, we celebrated an inauguration, the peaceful transfer of power that has defined Virginia for 250 years. On Saturday afternoon, I spoke about the urgent need to unite for a common purpose. Amid a national moment too often defined by chaos, our fellow citizens are anxious about the future. And today, that work, the work of governing and providing stability, begins in earnest. Thank you for your time this afternoon. It is an honor to stand before you as the 75th governor. And with us today in the gallery is the first gentleman.
We're coming out of this because Donald Trump is actually in the White House briefing room. And so let's listen to what he's talking about.
Page after page after page, individual things. I could stand here and read it for a week and we wouldn't be finished. But we've done more than any other administration has done by far in terms of military, in terms of ending wars, in terms of completing wars. Nobody's really seen very much like it. I think it's appropriate that because Minnesota is so much in the fray, and I say to my people all the time, and they're so busy doing other things, they don't say it like they should. They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers and a lot of bad people. And these are just some of the more recent ones that we have. And I can show you some of the people. Vicious, many of them murderers. These are all out of Minnesota, just Minnesota. I say, why don't you talk about that more? Because people don't know. Do you want to live with these people? International murder. These are people that are they're apprehended and either put in jails in their country from where they came, or the countries respect us, and so they actually put them there. In the old days, they didn't respect our country. Biden wouldn't do this because he let them all in. You know, if you didn't have open border policies of Biden, none of this, all of the time that we spend talking about Minnesota and everything else, most of them are coming from out of the country. And it's been caused by a previous administration. Look at this, one after one. Boy, these are rough characters. These are all criminal, illegal aliens that, in many cases, they're murderers, they're drug lords, drug dealers, they're the mentally insane. There's some of them who are brutal killers, they're mentally insane. They're killers, but they're insane. These are just in Minnesota. California, it's worse. In other states, it's worse. No, Minnesota, the crime is incredible. The financial crimes are incredible. And the problem is because of the agitators and insurrectionists, whatever you want, troublemakers, but they're paid agitators and insurrectionists. Nobody talks about the fact that $19 billion at a minimum is missing in Minnesota, given to a large degree by Somalians. They've taken it. Somalians, can you imagine? And they don't do it. A lot of very low IQ people, they don't do it. Other people work it out, and they get them money, and they go out and buy Mercedes-Benzes, and they come from here, they have no money. They never had money. They never had a life. They never had a government. They never had a country, because there's basically no country. Somalia is not even a country. They don't have anything that resembles a country. And if it is a country, it's considered just about the worst in the world. They come here and they become rich and they don't have a job. I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job. She's a crooked congressman. So here's another one. And I have, oh, by the way, we just took out, these are all what ICE is doing. And it's a dangerous job. These are rough people. Weapons. This one here is very bad. I'm going through this because I think we have plenty of time. I'm going to a beautiful place in Switzerland where we'll be, I'm sure I'm very happily awaited for. In Switzerland, they don't know about this. They don't have this problem. They have other problems, but they don't have this problem. Look, killed somebody. Look, and these are rough people. These are not, this was all allowed into our country through open borders. The dumbest policies, you know, men and women's sports is dumb. But to me, having an open border for the world to come in, drug dealers and prisoners, Venezuela, as an example, opened their prisons into the United States. That's why one of the reasons I felt so strongly against Venezuela. Now I'm loving Venezuela. They've been working with us so well. It's been so nice. And an unbelievably nice woman also did a very incredible thing, as you know, a few days ago. We're talking to her, and maybe we can get her involved in some way. I'd love to be able to do that. Maria, maybe we can do that. But we're dealing with the people and the president and all of the people in Venezuela, and we've been doing great. The oil companies are getting ready to make massive investments there. They have more oil than even Saudi Arabia. There you go. These are rough water. This is all Minnesota, every one of them. This is one state out of many. And these people are, let's see, yeah, these are all, so far, people that came from outside of the country. They were allowed in by Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden, whichever you like. You can call him whatever you like. They're both right. He's sleepy and he's crooked. He was the worst president we've ever had. And we've had some bad ones, too. I can tell you, all you have to do is look at trade. You're not getting bored with this, right? I hope you don't. But these are people that you have to see. Strong-arm rape, aggravated assault with a weapon, and many other crimes. gang member, known as one of the toughest people around. These are tough people. So this is what the people are trying to protect, because all ICE wants to do is get them out of our country, bring them to prisons and jails and mental institutions from where they came. That's all they want to do. They're patriots, and they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight. I saw him the way he walked in that church. It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible yesterday. Look at it. 24 convictions. 24 times convicted. They're not charges. These are convictions. So he comes from outside the country. Do you think he's going to be good here? He's convicted 24 times. He's going to be good here, right? It doesn't work that way. It's a man murder. It's one of many. One of many. All they want to do is get him out. They want to take him out of our country. And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid. You know, when the woman was shot, and I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it. So loud. It was like a professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional. She wasn't a woman that was hurt, like, oh, my heart's injured. She was a professional. She's shame, shame. She's screaming shame, shame. I said, that's not a normal person. That's a professional. These are professional agitators and professional people that want to see our country do badly. But that's not happening because we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, despite this stuff. Look at this. All top of the line criminals. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be well behaved here. I could do thousands. We had over 3,000 in the last fairly short while. Just in Minnesota. What's the number, Carol? 10,000.
10,000 criminals arrested in Minnesota alone.
10,000 criminals. And these are serious criminals. Now, how can a place with 10,000 criminals, how can you have a state? And yet they're fighting us. Yeah, I like that guy. He keeps nodding to me. You agree with me, I guess. I like him. I don't know who he is, but I like him. He keeps nodding. He says, you're right. He's obviously a little on the right side, maybe. Look. These are rough ones. So we just took this off a stack. We have many stacks like this. Like, I could go 30 times what I'm showing you now. Relations with Hezbollah, that's nice. Why do we allow them in our country? I'm just looking at these charges. It's just pretty incredible. Many murderers, many, many murderers. People that murdered. So what ICE does, and Border Patrol is incredible, too. I mean, Paul Perez and that group is incredible. Mostly Hispanic, by the way. They're like 60% Hispanic. You know, they talk about Hispanic. They're mostly Hispanic, right? And they're unbelievable people. And then they say, oh, we discriminate against. I love Hispanic. They are unbelievable. Entrepreneurial. They have everything. I did great. I did the highest. Nobody ever got numbers like I got from the standpoint of being a Republican. But even if you look at Texas, I won the entire border along Texas, between Texas and Mexico. It never happened before. Nobody's ever done that before. I did it. As a Republican, I did it. I love the Hispanic. And they accuse us of all sorts of things. 60% of the people we're talking about, they're the best people we have, and they're Hispanic. The Border Patrol is largely Hispanic. ICE is largely Hispanic. They're unbelievable people. I don't know how they can take the abuse. They're taking rough people like this, like all of them. We have 10,000 at least. I could have done 10,000 of them. You're lucky I only did like 100. And this isn't even the worst of the group. They have murderers. They have some people we can't use their picture for legal reasons, but they're up for murder in their own country. And we jeopardize their case. When we send them back and we coordinate with other countries. A tremendous amount of work. All allowed in here by an open border policy of the worst president in the history of our country. A man that didn't win the election, by the way, it was a rigged election. Everybody knows that now. And by the way, numbers are coming out that show it even more plainly. We caught him. So I just want you to know that it's a terrible thing. Here's the book on accomplishments. And this is something, I'm glad my finger wasn't in that sucker. That could have done some damage, but you know what? I wouldn't have shown the pain. I would have gone back. Boy, did you hear that? That was nasty. But I would not have shown the pain. I would have acted like nothing happened as my finger fell off. That was a nasty. I think somebody did that. It was him. It was my man. How were you? You didn't do it. I know you did. I know you didn't. So, but here's the book. These are all things we have. I'm going to read a few of the samples, but look at this. These are all, each line is something that we did. Nobody did that before. And it's big stuff, too. Look, we have the hottest country in the world. So, I will read you a few. We ended Biden's stagflation. We were in stagflation. That's a disaster. That's far worse than inflation. As you know, he had the biggest inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. Pick your choice. But they had the biggest inflation in the history of our country. We have it right down to a normal number now. We're going to get it even a little bit lower. Created super high. What we've done with growth is incredible. We created super high economic growth, and America is booming. It's booming. There are thousands of businesses right now that are being built. Many of the biggest factories in the world are being built right in our country. They're not going to other countries. They're leaving other countries. Fourth quarter GDP is on track to pass perhaps much more than 5% growth, and that's despite the fact that we had a Democrat shutdown. They shut down our country, and we had 5%. Nobody in this room has ever heard about 5%. I think it could be 20% if we do it right. If we don't, every time we have good numbers, they raise interest rates. You shouldn't do it. In the old days, if you had good numbers, they'd lower interest rates, or they wouldn't do anything. Here, they try and kill it. They always try and kill success. Over the last 20, 25 years, it's the way. In the old days, if you had good numbers, the market would go through the roof. Today, if you have good numbers, the market goes down. But by the way, we've had the best stock market in history, the best 401ks in history, and we inherited a mess. The numbers that we inherited were way up, and now we brought them, almost all of them, way down. We brought them way down. I mean, I'm not getting. Maybe I have the bad public relations people, but we're not getting it across. We inherited high numbers and we brought them way down. And look at gasoline. They have places in the country now, $1.99 a gallon. $1.99, $2.30, $2.50. I guess the average now they're saying is $2.31. I mean, he was at $4.50 and $5 for periods of time. And he went back to the Trump formula, but he didn't do it properly, and he really went back to parts of it because you would have had $8 gasoline if they didn't, but he didn't do it properly. He had people that didn't know what they were doing. Core inflation for the last 3 months is 1.6%. 1.6. Their core inflation was so high that nobody could even calculate it. Under Biden, real incomes declined $3,000. Think of that, $3,000. That's a year. In 12 months, Trump real incomes went up by $2,000 and $3,000 and even in some cases $5,000. It's a tremendous difference. Stock market has set 52 all-time record highs during the course of the 11 months, because this was done on 11 months. Now we are actually officially 12 months as of today. 52 all-time record highs. That means 401ks did great. I have people see me all the time, policemen that guard us really well, and got to know them a little bit. And they said, "Sir, you're making me look so good. My 401k is through the roof. My wife thinks I'm the greatest genius, that I'm a financial genius, like Warren Buffett." He told me that. He said, I think they have better returns than Warren Buffett right now. But he said, all my life, my wife has been criticizing me for not being smart financially. Now, all of a sudden, she loves me more. But we added $9 trillion in value to retirement accounts, saving many people. I mean, they were going out of business. Think of it. We added $9 trillion of value to retirement accounts, savings accounts, and 401ks. That's during the course of 12 months. And I think it's probably 11 months, because I don't think they have it for the 12. They have it for the 11. Added $9 trillion of value. Lifted more than 1.2 million Americans off food stamps in 1 year. They would have had another 1.2 million. We would have had, welfare would have gone up. And instead of investing $18 trillion in our country, now it's probably more than that, but $18 trillion, and having thousands of plants being built all over the country, you would have had thousands of plants closing all over the country, and you would have had disinvestment, and you would have had welfare going way up. You know, if you look at SNAP, take a look at SNAP, what happened with that? It was at $7 billion, and it came out to over $51 billion. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. The past administration, they had no clue. Or they were really bad, but they basically had no clue. But they did have a concept. I mean, they're still trying to sell the idea of men playing in women's sports. You saw that in the Supreme Court. I mean, some of those justices were fighting for them, too. They were fighting for them. But you saw that just the other day in the Supreme Court. Men playing in women's sports doesn't work. Secured a record-breaking $18 trillion in commitments for new investments. Apple, NVIDIA, SoftBank, Oracle, TSMC, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly and Company, Micron, AstraZeneca, General Motors, Hyundai, Ford, Honda, GE Aerospace, many, many others. I left a Ford plant a week ago in Michigan that they were going to close 2 years ago, and now they just announced that they're going 24 hours around the clock making cars. Tariffs did it. I don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do. I think to me it reads so plainly. Couldn't be plainer. You're allowed to do a license. Tariff is probably less severe than what a license could be. But think of it. You're allowed to do a license, and then they have a clause at the end, something to the effect, or what is necessary, something to that effect. And what is necessary with tariffs. I don't know where there's a case even there, but we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, and if we lose that case, it's possible we're going to have to do the best we can in paying it back. I don't know how that's going to be done very easily without hurting a lot of people. But we're waiting for that case anxiously, and we have tremendous national security because of tariffs and tremendous income. You know, we have, and by the way, no inflation. So everyone said, oh, tariffs will cause inflation. We have no inflation. We have very little inflation. Biden had inflation, and he didn't do tariffs. We had a huge problem. We have a 62% reduction in our trade deficit. So if you had a 1% reduction, a normal president would have a 1%, 2% reduction. Everybody would be high-fiving. At a 62% reduction, next year we won't have a trade deficit. We secured most favored nations agreements to slash drug prices by as much. And to me, I think this might be the biggest thing of all. We get zero talk about it. The New York Times had a story way in the back of the paper, a little story about it. I think it's the biggest thing there is when you talk about health care. Drug prices will go down more than ever before for any country, because we were priced at such a level that we were subsidizing the entire world, big place in the world. We were paying 10, 12, 13 times more than other countries. 13 times more, not 13%, 13 times more. A pill that was selling in London for $10 would sell in New York for $130. That's 13 times. More than that even. But we secured most favored nations agreements to slash drug prices by as much as 300, 400, 500, and even 600%, including with Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, Nova Nordisk, Gilead Sciences, EMD, Serenio, and many others. If you look at some of the prices that are coming down, where a price would come down $1,300 coming down to $87. Think of it. So something that was costing $1,300 is now costing $87. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it. That's why I do this. I don't like to do this, to be honest with you. But I do it because got to get the word out. We signed one big, beautiful bill. I call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill, delivering the largest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. We made interest on car loans tax deductible for U.S.-built automobiles only. So if you buy an automobile built in the United States, we're not doing it for Germany and Canada and different places. We're doing it only if it's built here. We want them to be built here. A lot of the Canadian auto plants are closing and they're moving into the United States. Same thing with Mexico, same thing with Germany, and same thing with Japan and other countries. They're moving into the United States because of tariffs. Because they don't want to pay the tariffs. It's too much. They can't pay the tariffs. So they're coming here. Nothing different than what other smart countries did. But it works better for us. Under my leadership, it's not done properly, but it's done properly. We have, again, more plants being built than at any time in the history of our country. Passed the largest spending cuts in American history, and that was true in my first. We had a tremendous first term also. We rebuilt our military. We had one of the best. We had the best economy in the history of our country, but we're blowing it away now. When this stuff starts opening up, you're not going to see anything like it probably ever again. We slashed the federal budget deficit by 27% in a single year. Think of that, 27. You could do it 2%, 1%, 0.5%, 27%. And that's with all of the things we have to do, all of the people we have to put on the payroll to get rid of people that are murderers. Again, when you see people in Minnesota that are murderers, these people are fighting to keep them there. And I say to Christie and to Tom Homan, the great people, they're working so hard. Look at the border. The border is now secure. First time, Biden said you couldn't do it. You need legislation. I had no legislation. I said close the border. Within 1 month, we had almost nobody coming in. Now for the last 8 months, nobody came into our country illegally. And I find that hard to believe because you'd think somebody, because it used to be millions of people just poured into our country. And the people that do that are Democrat sort of aligned. So, they're not doing me any favors. We had nobody come in. We have a very strong border. We have very few people coming up. They're not going to make the trek because they know they probably won't be coming in. So it's not as hard as you think. But I didn't have to go back. Remember, they said, we need legislation to close the border. They had millions of people coming in a month. We have nobody coming in, and we're getting the murderers out. Murderers, people from prisons and jails. Many countries opened up their prisons and dropped them into the United States. Those are the people we're getting out. And we have a lot of heart. And I said, you got to lighten up on this. We have a lot of heart for people. They came in illegally, but they're good people, and they're working now on farms, and they're working in luncheonettes and hotels and all. And we're looking to get the criminals out right now, the criminals. And I think it's very important. Every once in a while you see a story, we take somebody. He should be out because they came in illegally. So in theory, they should be. But we're focused on the murderers, the drug dealers, the mentally insane. We have a lot of mentally insane killers. You can't even talk to them. Be nice if you could have a little reason, but you can't even reason. These are seriously ill people. You have a couple of countries where they were loaded up. Their mental institutions and insane asylums were loaded to the gills. They couldn't get. They're empty now, but they're filling up because we're bringing them all back. We know where they came from, and every country accepts them. You know, under Biden, they wouldn't take. They had so little respect that they'd bring them there, and they wouldn't take them. They said, "Get the hell out of here." They would be bringing a plane in to land in a country, and they'd put 5 planes on the runway so you couldn't land the plane. So they'd come back with the people that they were bringing back. They don't do that with me. They do that with me, they have problems. They don't do it. They accept them back. They're not happy about it, but they accept them back. Cut a record number of regulations. I promised to eliminate 10 old regulations for every one new regulation. Instead, we cut 129 old regulations for each one added. Think of that. I wanted to do 10. In my first 4 years, I did. When we put on a new regulation, you had to cut 8. This year, I said you have to cut 10. Instead, we cut 129. So every time, so far, can't remain like that, I don't imagine. I hope I can, because we have so much wasted regulation, stupid regulations. Regulations where they go by California, which is a disaster state, with a governor that truly is doing a bad job. He's killing that state. If he ever ran the country, this country would be Venezuela very quickly. Using tariffs slashed the U.S. trade deficit by an incredible 77%. The trade deficit is down, and that doesn't include the last month where we had our best month. We slashed the trade deficit by an incredible 77% in 1 year with no inflation, something that everyone said could not be done. So we had essentially no inflation. In fact, the last month we had almost no inflation. But we slashed the trade deficit by 77%. If you slashed it by 1%, that was good. Again, we did that with tariffs and intelligence. We did that with November 5th, great election. We secured historic trade deals to reduce barriers on U.S. exports with countries covering 40% of all U.S. trade. Think of that. American exports are up by more than $150 billion this year. People said, oh, we're not exporting. All we do is buy. If you keep buying, you're not going to have a country for very long. So we increased exports by more than $150 billion. Investment in American factories is up 41%. That's a record. Nobody goes 41% up. You go 2% up, 1% up. You go down by 3%. If Kamala got elected, the 41% up would be 41% down. We removed over 270,000 bureaucrats from the federal payroll. That's another thing. So we have, we announce our unemployment numbers, call it unemployment or employment. And they were very good, but we could make them great. But we've slashed tremendous numbers of people off the federal payroll. Because ultimately, if you're on the federal payroll, I mean, we have jobs where they had 10 people for every job. So we cut. Now, if you want to see some good numbers, I'll hire 1 million people. We cut millions of people off the federal payroll. I don't like doing that, but the good news, I don't feel badly because they're getting private sector jobs and they're getting sometimes twice as much money, 3 times as much money. They're getting factory jobs. They're getting much better jobs and much higher pay. But all I have to do is say, like, what the Democrats do all the time. They hire 1 million people, and then they hire another million. They load it up, and it says, oh, they only have a 3% unemployment rate. It's a fake rate. So with us, we're proud of the fact that we cut so many because, again, I don't want to cut people. But when you cut them and they go out and get a better job, I like to cut them. And sometimes they have to be forced to do that because, it's like they want to stay where they are. They don't know. And then all of a sudden they end up, we have many cases, Caroline, where people were devastated. They hated Trump. I got caught from my very boring federal job where they had, again, sometimes 10 people to do one job. And they were very upset. And now they ended up with a job where they get paid 3 times more money. They're ending up buying houses. It's like crazy. So they went from not liking me to liking me a lot because it's hard to get. We need people. We need people. It's one of the reasons. I mean, when you have good people in the farm or good people in hotels and everything else, we want to work with them as much as we can. Under Biden, 1 out of 4 jobs added was a government job. Think of that. So 25% of the jobs added. That's when you know that, that's 25% of the jobs aren't real jobs. But again, I could do that. I could add 2 million jobs right now, would have an unemployed. I could say just hire some more people. I do the opposite. I say get rid of everybody that's unnecessary, because that's the way you make America great again. When you have, all these jobs where people are sitting around doing nothing and they get a lot of money by the government, it's no good. But that's what the Democrats do. They show, we were at 4% unemployment. That's a good number. But they just add jobs, or they would never cut jobs. Under Trump, 100% of all new jobs created have been in the private sector. Think of that. Now, 1% has gone to federal. So under Biden, 1 out of 4 was a government job. Under Trump, 100% of the new jobs created, 100% came from the private sector. That's how you make your country wealthy and strong and good. We inherited the worst border in history and turned it into the strongest border in history. Illegal crossings have plummeted to the lowest level ever recorded, down 99.999%. That means down 100%. 99.999. Now, I want to find out who that one person is. For 8 months in a row, zero, and these are government numbers, these are not my numbers. For 8 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were admitted to our country. 0. Nobody came in, unless they came in legally. We have a big process for having people come in legally, by the way. A lot of people are coming in legally. They have to prove they love our country. They have to prove that they're not going to need welfare. A lot of things they have to prove. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration, where because we're getting all of these illegal people out. People that came in illegally, in many cases they're criminals, in many, many cases. Remember when they used to say that the people that come into our country as immigrants are very nice people, they're wonderful people, they don't commit crime. No, they make our criminals look like babies. They make our Hell's Angels look like the sweetest people on earth.
All right, so there you have it. President Trump in the White House briefing room, something that does not usually happen. But today is 1 year, the 1 year anniversary of his inauguration. So he came in, he handed out books that talk about his accomplishments over the past year. But he also, as you saw, held up a number of pictures of people who've been arrested in Minnesota, saying that these were all criminal, illegal immigrants. He held up picture after picture after picture and said that they've arrested 10,000 people. That's quite a few. As you know, you've been seeing the protesting going on in Minnesota over the last week or so, 2 weeks, and obviously the tragedy that happened there with the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer. He did say that violent crime in Minnesota was horrible. And in actuality, it has decreased significantly, 28.5% lower than the national average. He also mentioned Venezuela, said, I love Venezuela right now. He mentioned Machado. She is the woman who visited the White House last week. She is the opposition leader. He's saying that he's looking for some way for her to get involved, saying she did a very nice thing a few days ago. And I believe he's talking about when she presented him with her Nobel Peace Prize. And then he started talking about the economy over and over, saying that created high economic growth, that things are booming, stock market setting records. For a little bit of context, though, job growth was the lowest in decades last month, outside of, or in 2025, outside of moments when we've been in a recession. So in actuality, things might not be as great as he purports them to be. But yeah, he's talking. and talking about the border, what he's done with the border, and says that we now have the strongest border, that he closed the border, and that they are wanting to just get out criminals. We do have some data from the deportation projects that says about a third of the people who've been arrested by ICE don't have criminal records. So this is an issue that we're going to continue to follow. We'll have updates on this during our news at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. But we want to shift gears to something else, and we want to talk about money, because we like money, right? So Tim Fitzwilliams with Fitzwilliams Financial is joining us now. We are so happy to have him in the studio. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Janet, for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So your new year is off to a good start?
Yeah, absolutely. Having a blast.
Okay. All right, so we want to talk about some things because people this time of year, they're still trying to sort out what can I do to put myself in a better financial situation. You know,
Sure.
that January is that time of year when people get so caught up on that. So when you're looking at your current asset allocations, do they still make sense for 2026? I mean, what are some things that you need to be thinking about?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest concerns, if you're looking at like indexing and passive investments, like maybe in your 401k, is something that a lot of people don't look at often, and that's concentration risk.
Okay.
And statistically speaking, you don't really want to have more than 5% of any one holding. You start to increase your exposure to risk a lot. And the problem that we see with these types of investments, and quite frankly with a lot of people's portfolios right now, is that they have concentration risk. Mm-hmm. And that's because of the Magnificent 7 or 10, however you look at it, right? These stocks that are mostly tech focused, that's taken over so much of the S&P 500's value.
Tech fatigue, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And is that fatigue something to be concerned about, or is it something to embrace? And I think that's the concern that everyone needs to look at is, do you jump on the bandwagon? Is it too late? Or should I get on if I haven't got on? And I think that's where you get into emotional situations. And we try our best to stay away from those things and look at it from a calculative standpoint. I mean, 35% of the entire S&P 500 right now, Janet, is made up of this Magnificent 7. So the idea of maybe diversifying a little bit more, lowering that concentration risk, becomes something that I think people should start asking about, talking to advisors about, their trusted professionals, start getting more information about how you could do that, because it is becoming more and more volatile.
So, I mean, if you're going to focus on tech stocks, I mean, they're pretty expensive though now, right? I mean, to invest in. Isn't it like, someone gave me a comparison. It's just like if you buy a designer handbag, okay, and you bought it for $5,000, but last year that same handbag was $1,000. You know, is that kind of a good comparison when you're thinking about some of these tech stocks?
Well, I see where you're saying that the value's gone up, and I think that's the key right there is, at what point does the value just not make sense anymore?
No, okay.
So if you're looking at a stock and it's 50 times its value, 50 times, that's like saying I'm okay with buying a home for 50 times its market price.
And no.
I believe that that's a good idea, and I believe that that's going to make sense. But yet all of us are doing that, Janet, when we're buying these Magnificent 7s. Some of those multiples are high like that. And unless you're really, curing cancer or really making a generational change, it's hard to justify that that company is worth that much money. I talk to people all the time about it in my seminars and out and about.
The
and
Constitution
on stage here as
says that
well.
I
It's
am
like,
entitled to this.
if we go back in time,
I can't stand
to
it.
the late 90s, early 2000s,
Terminated all taxpayer funded.
Friday night, and we all want to get a movie to watch. So we're going to get in the car and we're going to go on down to Blockbuster, right?
Right.
We're going to pick out a bunch of movies.
I remember those days.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And we never even thought about the word stream.
Right.
But just like that, that era ended. And so did the stocks associated with it, right?
Okay.
So people have to be aware and at least understand that there could be significant volatility.
Yeah.
One thing
Yeah.
could come and change. And I'm not
Just
saying
like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if you have a Tesla that's an electric car and then all of a sudden someone makes a water car, well, buy electric car, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that we need to be aware that volatility exists. And so when you put all your thoughts around this is hot, this is the way to go, this is that savvy way to do things,
Right.
and you're allowing your concentration to get too deep into one of them or into a couple of them, now your portfolio is lopsided and you're exposed to more risk than you originally wanted to have.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, when you focus so heavily on this is the end thing. This is what
Right.
everybody's talking about. I got to get in on it. Got to get in on it. You know, that's what everybody was saying with NVIDIA. I mean, it was like,
Absolutely.
you know,
And now let's take a look at that. I'm glad you brought that up, Janet. And let's go back last year. You know, there was a tech, right? There was a tech company in China that put out a text that said that they could compete with NVIDIA. And what happened? There was volatility around NVIDIA. And because of that, there was a spillover into the rest of the market.
right.
Now, again, we're not really worried about it because it was a blip and we all came back from that. But we have to think about it. That just a text that went out, right, created volatility.
Right.
And that tells you what you're dealing with. When you start to have things that are recommended by your Uber driver, by your friends, right, and there's no science behind it, or you don't know how, you know, it's working with the rest of your portfolio, but you just know it's good to have and I have to have it,
Right.
emotion starts to take over. And then you have to realize it happens the other way too. Just like that text went out, there could be emotion. Now all of a sudden you're down 20%.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's what happened.
And that's what
Again, we
happened.
came back. But
Right.
what if we don't? What if it's a situation where there's a new tech that truly does, like, you know, Netflix to Blockbuster, right?
Right, right,
A
right.
new tech truly does come out and takes out the competitor. And now that's the new king on the block. And everyone who had that Blockbuster stock lost money, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what you have to be aware of. Are you doing it because it's a fad, a trend? Do you really believe in it? And if you believe that you need to be in it to make money, because it's hard not to without being somewhat closely related to it, are you too concentrated? Right?
Okay.
Are you too concentrated?
Got to diversify.
Yeah, and I think that's the key element is diversification. And then maybe how can you diversify from those stocks and get similar type returns, or at least try to get similar returns?
So is boring back? You know, investing in
So-
like, you know, old school businesses like a bank or something like that?
Well, I think when we look at it, and if we're trying to diversify, and we say is boring back, I think if we look right now when there's volatility, if we went back to, again, I'm not giving a recommendation here, but there's some thoughts. If you went back to industrial type stocks, maybe some small caps, then you might want to look at some gold because the dollar's going to weaken a little bit as these interest rates come down.
Okay.
And then you could plug in some emerging markets to get that international exposure. And now what you've done is you've tried to create something. The goal would be to try to create something that has a good spread out diversification. It's not too concentrated. And hopefully you would get similar type returns to those big tech companies.
Okay. Kind of like the, what do they call it? The blue jeans of the stock market. Make sure you have plenty of that because they're so reliable, right?
Sure.
Everybody- and so dependable. So you got to have that mixed in there. You know, so many people invest and you know, they have their 401k or whatever, and they have no idea.
Exactly.
They have no idea where their money is.
And that's the scary part because they'll think that they're at one type of risk tolerance and they're not looking at, because of the Magnificent 7, 10, however you want to categorize it, they're not looking at the fact that it's taken a large part of their portfolio. If I have a mutual fund and you have a mutual fund, our viewers have a mutual fund, there's a high probability all of us have some NVIDIA in there, we all have some Apple in there, we all have some Google in there. So then it's that diversification conversation again. So one thing that is unique is that some 401ks allow you to do self-management, right? So that's self-directed, if you will. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
something that people can look into. And if you're retiring or separated, you don't have to leave it in that same old 401k.
Okay.
You can actually roll it over into an IRA and then either manage it yourself or have a professional do it for you. But what it will do is it'll open up your options. I kind of joke about it and say you go from like shopping at like a 7-Eleven to a Costco.
Okay.
You just got a lot more variety and a lot
Yeah.
more options.
Okay. All right. So that is something you need to pay a lot more. I'm actually, I'll admit, one of those people that I'm not exactly keeping up as well as I should in terms of where my money is. And, I want to kind of ward off any surprises, I mean, is there any advice for how often a person should check and read about, you get those, what do you call those, readouts on what you're invested in?
Your
and-
statements.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at it more from an algorithm, more from a consistency, not from a timing mechanism. So what we talk about is rebalancing. And this is when you're supposed to
Yeah.
take your portfolio and kind of look at things from a standpoint of this stock took off and did better and I started making money. Maybe it's time to sell it because if I don't, I'm going to be out of whack of my risk tolerance. So whatever my risk tolerance is, I might end up being a little bit riskier than I wanted to be because I've let this stock kind of go on a run, if you will.
Okay.
Right? And in a simple terms of looking at it, it's like a haircut, right? It's not a really good idea to kind of time your haircut. It never really works out, at least not for me. You kind of have to have it consistently set. Once a month I'm going to do this, or every so many days I'm going to do this, right? And so same thing with rebalancing. You want to have that be consistent so that you're doing it whatever you're comfortable with, monthly. At Fitzwilliams Financial, we like to do it weekly. Maybe it's quarterly, semi-annually, whatever you want to do, but do it consistently.
Be consistent.
Don't try to time those things because of emotion or how the market's doing.
Okay.
We want to get away from market timing and more into systems.
Yeah. Yeah, as you say, as the market is doing, I'm looking at this negative 895 right now, but still the market's been really good.
Sure.
though. It's been really good.
You're going to have more volatility. You're going to see things like this. And the idea is, based on your setup, your diversification, your concentration, do these days affect you more or
Right.
not? And depending on those factors, it could be more of an effect than not.
And this is probably due to that announcement on the tariffs on the 8 NATO countries that Donald Trump says he was going to place tariffs on if they don't support his move to try to get Greenland. Okay, what else did I want to ask you? Yeah, opportunities, you kind of touched on this, or risks emerging early in the year that people should be aware of, like, a risk. You kind of touched on that a
Well,
little bit.
one of the risks, I think, we were talking about concentration risk in your own portfolio, but what
Right.
about risks that are not under your control, that you really just have to deal with, like geopolitical risks, like
Okay.
the Greenland conversation?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
will be the net effects of that? Geoeconomics. And so this is a time where we want to be aware of those factors. And we want to be aware of how much we have of that or how much exposure we have to that. But those are definitely risks that could increase volatility for us this year, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting back to like maybe just some basic things in saving. I can remember being 20 something a while back. But I remember, my first like real full-time job. I can remember the human resources person was an older woman, and she kept coming to me and says, Janet, you have to start that 401k. And I did, I did, listening to her. And I wonder now, though, if young people do you have young people coming to you in your business? Do you see that a lot? That are aware of the savings that they need to be starting now?
Here and there, we have people that are aware. I think it's the factor that they realize that there's probably not going to be Social Security, right, depending on how things shake out. A lot of young people are concerned about that. They're concerned about pensions. That's been changing even for the military. That's had some changes over the recent years. So people are becoming more concerned about their future. So saving now and starting to put away money in some type of retirement plan is important. And I talked about this before last week, but I think it's important to bring it up again. Just because you have investment vehicles or investments like stocks and bonds, mutual funds, what have you.
Right.
That doesn't mean you have a financial plan.
Okay.
So you can have the tools, but that doesn't mean you have a plan.
A plan.
So
yeah.
it's important to have a plan. And I think now more than ever, younger people should start trying to build a plan as soon as they're getting into their jobs, getting settled into life, so you don't make decisions that stop you, that kind of put you out of your means. We see that with credit card debt, right?
Yeah.
If we see that credit card debt is increasing, and if we see if younger Americans are having more credit card debt, and that means they're being pushed out of their means a little bit more, but the pushing is being done by themselves
Right.
because they're not thinking about the idea of, hey, let me get something started. So to what you were saying, I think it's great advice to get something started.
Yeah.
I think it's anything at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really age associated with that. I think it's always good to get started. But I think having a financial plan, good budgeting, down to brass tacks. If I'm going to buy this car and it costs me $500 more a month, what does that look like for a month before I just jump into it, right?
yeah,
Really getting a handle on where you are on a monthly basis and where your savings is at on a regular basis, I think is important. And plan that out. If you know what you want your lifestyle to look like 30 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever your time horizon is, kind of reverse engineer and say, well, then I need to save money about this much at this rate of return to get this much to live off of
Right.
that amount for a comfortable amount of years. And that's the plan that you want to try to put together. And that's where financial advisors come in and fiduciaries come in to be able to assist in getting you a written plan.
That is so important. I say all the time that these young people now are the DoorDash
Yeah.
generation. You
Right.
know, where this easy access. Naya, Naya is smiling because she's probably agreeing with me. I don't know. It's the easy access. You know, it's food, and I mean, I'm looking at my kids, and I had to tell them, look, you're not a salaried employee.
Right.
You can't order $18 meals for lunch every day. You know. And they're asking me for money, and I'm like, do I look like an ATM machine? No, I don't. But yeah, that's, you know, it's kind of a different time.
Well, technology, in my opinion, advances in technology hurt us in our levels of responsibility when it comes to money.
Yeah.
It becomes easier to spend.
So
It
easy.
becomes easy to let emotions take over, even if it's hunger, right? It's one of those things that you're just like, oh, I'll just do it. I need that sandwich now, or I need to get that cup of coffee, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things, Janet, that I like to execute, and you know, it's hard to do, but I think once you do it, it really help you out, especially if you're a young person and you're really trying to figure out how to kind of budget. Is I like to have a separate account for fun. So you pay your bills, you put away for your savings, you have an emergency account, and you pay your bills monthly. What do you have left over? Okay, you have whatever that is. Well, maybe I'm going to put that amount into another account. So then what happens when I spend down the amount in that quote unquote fun account? I'm not going to a credit card. I'm not going to the money to pay for my monthly bills. I'm done. So you get a good understanding of if you want a DoorDash, if you want to spend money on these things, on skins in video games or whatever it may be, right? Then fine, here's the budget to do that. But once you hit that, we're done. We have
Right.
to dial things back. And I like that because you don't put overdraft protection or things like that on it. It's gonna stop you. You're gonna know that you ran out of money.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, you still paid your bills, you still had emergency fund, and you still had savings and a good idea of what to do with your finances. And then if you did want to go buy something, just look at that fund account and say, well, it's going to cost me $500 more a month.
Right.
So make sure you leave $500 in that every month because it won't be there if you make the purchase, right?
Absolutely.
See how that
yeah.
feels. Is it tight? Do I need to use a credit card? And if you can do things like that, and I think that's important. If you can do things like that and you don't feel like you have to go get credit, you don't feel like you're pressed or stressed out, then sure, go ahead and add that extra $500 to your bills.
I know I'm going off topic here, but this just makes me think about, you know, what a lot of parents are thinking about, and I've had people say, "Oh, make sure your kid gets a credit card by like 20 so they can build credit." And I'm thinking, "Oh,
Yeah.
20? He's kind of immature." And I mean, is there an age
You know,
or
credit's an interesting conversation.
And I'm going off.
And the
off
more
on-
money you have, the less it's actually used in the traditional mindset that people think it's used. Yeah, I mean, most wealthy people are using their net worth, and that
that's-
provides a line of credit, and it's not about their credit score anymore. It's about what their worth is, right? But in the beginning, I think it's good to try to build your credit because it's responsible.
Okay.
I think that's why. If you keep that mindset, I think that's great. And I think as people start to make money, you're going to find people that make more salary and more comfortable incomes, right? They're going to start to use credit cards to their advantage, not the other way around.
Okay.
They're going to start using credit cards for the free reward points, for the discount structure because they spent so much money on it, and pay it off on a consistent basis. So back to your original point, I think it's a great point of starting some type of responsible relationship with a financial institution. I think that's great.
Right.
What you don't want to do is let it be a crutch, to let it be an excuse to be like, well, I didn't get paid this week, or my check's coming next week. I'll just go ahead and put it in my credit card.
Right.
You want to create a good system, and I think really you almost want to like treat it like a chore. You want to make sure that you don't skip it. You want to make sure that you take it serious and that you're always looking at that, and hopefully you're paying it off and not letting the credit beat you. Now the odds are
Yeah.
most people end up paying the interest rate, right? And it ends up becoming a burden in their lives. And sometimes the interest rate can eat you alive.
Yeah.
So you really want to control your emotions on buying things until you really feel you can afford stuff.
Yeah. And parents really should model good behavior, for your kids and how they spend. I'll give my dad and my mom credit for that. They, my my dad was always on a budget, and that really influenced me. So, when I got old enough, like for a credit card, I was just thinking, but why would I buy something that I can't afford, but I
Right.
still have to pay for it? That didn't make sense to me. It was like, and I think that kind of helped me in the
But a
beginning.
lot of people get caught into that trap.
Yeah, they get caught into that. Is it a good idea to give kids an allowance? Does that help?
I think it is.
is?
I practice that. I think it's important for them to understand the value of the dollar. And I also think that they have to understand where they are in life, right? Just because you're making money and you're doing well, that doesn't mean that they are. So that kind of
Hello.
gives them the parameters of what they can and cannot do.
Right.
At least that's how it is in my household. So our kids get an allowance,
Okay.
and mom and dad might go do some things or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they can go do those
Right.
things.
Hey, we can afford
Right?
it. You can't.
Now, if we're
Go
nice
back-
enough
yeah.
to let it, exactly. If we're nice enough to let them come and do those things with us, right, then that's us just being nice because we love them, and they need to understand that. They also, I think it's important, and I do this with my kids, understand the value of what that is. Show them the receipt. Show them what it costs for that trip to Disney World. Show them what it costs to be able to
Okay.
take your kids to practice on a regular basis or to travel for sports. Because if you don't, they're not going to understand the value of it.
Right.
And they won't be able to really analyze that. That's really important. I talk to a lot of people that are professional, well, right there at the line of some professionals and then some that just almost but not quite. They didn't quite make it to the professional world. And they're so used to these things, and without the sponsorships and without the stuff that they had when they were going through, or their parents paying for it, trying to bridge that gap or trying to do it on their own is
they're
impossible.
lost.
And they
Yeah.
realize they can't continue on that journey of trying to become a professional athlete in this example. Right? So I think it's good to let your kids know what things cost and to let them know what a budget is and let them know what income looks like. And some people don't like that. I personally think it helps them to understand the world the way that it should be.
How should we handle cash on hand?
Yeah.
In the current rate environment.
So, especially as interest rates go down, people might have some more cash on hand, right? credit debt might cost less to service or will cost less to service. There's going to maybe be some opportunities to get more capital. So yeah, there'll be cash on hand. I think that's beautiful if we scientifically address what we're trying to do with that cash. It needs to be aligned with your goals, right? It doesn't need to be, I'm going to do this because I feel like I want to do it, or that's more like gambling, right? I'm buying this stock because I think it's going to do great. We want to think it through and make sure it's aligned with our goals and our time horizon and what we're trying to accomplish. The trendy conversation or the idea is I'm going to buy the dip. That's the hype. That's what everyone talks about. I have cash, so I'm going to buy the dip. But we always have to remember in finance, it's like the number one rule people talk about is that past performance is no guarantee to say what future performance will be.
Right. Not
So
when
just
comes
because
to
it worked
that,
one time doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's always going to work. So this is where you have to look at that cash on hand and say, is this Vegas money? Then maybe I will buy a tech stock or do this or do that. Keep in mind the concentration, and like we talked about before.
Right.
But maybe I will do that because why not? If I lose it, I don't care. But if this is money and you still haven't hit your financial goals or it doesn't look like you're going to hit your financial goals, perhaps we need to be more scientific about it, analyze what percentage of it we need to put into low risk, medium risk, high risk, whatever your flavor is. I think that's important. It's not just to think, hey, I got some extra cash, I'm just going to go buy the dip, if you will. That gets dangerous.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. And it's like gambling.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's okay. If you have the extra cash, it's okay to gamble or to go do that if that's what you want to do. It's your money, it's extra. But if that extra cash is needed to get you where you want to be in life, Janet, then you got to rethink how you deploy that cash.
Yeah, and usually when you gamble, the house wins. So
Most of the time, that's right. Yep.
You've got to keep that in mind. And I guess that's probably one of the biggest mistakes you see people make, something like that, or what's something else that people do, and you're like, how do they do that? What you're
It's
just
the
like
bigger
surprised.
purchases.
Yeah,
It's not what I find with most folks, it's not the day-to-day purchases. Like I'm at an adult level with income and they're doing well in their life.
Yeah.
It's do I need that second home? Do I need that new car? Do I need 2 of those new cars? Right? It's those things. And then that squeezes your monthly cash flow down.
right.
Right? So you can have a lot of these toys, if you will, and have no cash left over.
Yeah,
And I think that's the issue. Well, we'll see some folks will make big decisions and you can't take those back. Right? Most of the time you can't.
Yeah.
Right? And so you really want to be cautious, especially when it comes to, this is probably a good topic, is when you're going to buy a house. There's a lot of difference between a condo and something that's 3,000 to 4,000 square foot. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean the mortgage.
the maintenance,
The maintenance, if you're going to get your lawn cut, it's going to cost more.
the bill, the
Electricity
utility
bill is going to
bills,
be higher. So you want to think these things through. And
Right.
I'm kind of focusing around, if it seems like we're talking about whether you have the cash on hand or whether you hear about a good stock tip or whatever. Are you moving with emotion, or are you looking at this because you have good fiduciary advice or good scientific evidence to make that decision? I think that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
Is try to make as many decisions as you possibly can through systems and science. Don't let your emotions take over. That's when people get out of whack with their debt. You hear it called house poor, car poor, because
Yeah.
they bought something that was just a little bit out of their means. They could afford the mortgage, but they didn't realize all the rest that comes with it. And then, man, that made it much harder to do all the other things they wanted to do in their life.
Exactly. Yeah, and things are getting, so expensive. So you really have to be careful when it comes to things like that. Naya, did you get an allowance when you were coming up?
I did not.
Did you have a financial question? I didn't either. I didn't get an allowance either when I was, it was just, I just had to do without.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, my dad, like you were, to go back to your point, he did teach me the value of money. And like growing up, it made me really, not hyper fixated on it, but like I was always checking my receipt, keeping my receipts. Like
Right.
nowadays, they like to ask, do you want your receipt? And I'm like, yes, I want my receipt, because I want to see where did I go over my budget, where did I limit everything what I needed to,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we have this thing, and this isn't a plug. I'm not related with them or anything, but there's this company, the green light card, the green card for the kids.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
We have that set up. I think that's what it's called. We have that set up for our kids so they can see their balance. If they want to go into 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee, we make them use their card. Now, we may replenish it, but we want them to see that movement of the dollar so that they understand that, wait, I had $20 and now I have 15. Well, we shouldn't have gotten that drink from Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
And, but they realize that. Whereas if you're just being nice and you're doing it all the time, they never realize it. And even if we give them back the money because we're going to replenish it because we're like, hey, look, that's on us today,
Yeah.
they'll still value that. They'll go, wow, I saw my money go down, but then it went back up. Thanks, Mom and Dad,
Yeah.
but we're not always going to be here. So they start to realize that, hey, I do need to watch things. And I think if you take that back to the old school model, it was like your dad, right? Teaching you the budget and understanding so that you're looking at the receipts, like you said. In today's model, it's apps and being able to see your balance on your bank app, right? And understand how that works.
Yeah, that's a good idea. A very good idea, that green card thing. But yeah, and so you look at your receipts so you can stay in budget. That's smart.
Yes.
That's very good. Yeah. I was and my daughter, she's graduated from college, but she just graduated, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she's like, "Wait a minute, hold on, Mom. I'm in the Starbucks line."
Right.
And I hear her order, and I hear the person say, "That'll be 14 blah blah blah." And I said, "Girl,
right.
you don't make enough money to do that. You can't make that daily habit, And
That's
she's
exactly
like,
right.
"Oh, I know, but I had to straighten her up on that."
This is where the fun account comes in, right?
Uh-huh.
You know when you hit your limit.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. People are spending hundreds of dollars a month on these types of things. Hundreds.
And it adds up. It
does.
Yeah. I have so many more questions. We can talk all day about financial management. This is my first day on Live Impact, so I'm getting the wrap because I didn't know when we're supposed to end. I thought I had till 3 o'clock. What time do I have till now? Yeah.
Yes, 3 o'clock. I was just letting you know that we're getting close.
Okay, yes. Oh, we're getting close. Well, so one more question.
Sure.
Senior citizens, older people. I
Okay.
imagine you see a lot of situations where
That's the majority of our clients, yes.
where they're having regrets.
Oh, regrets. Yeah, so the real regret that we see is that they're not spending enough of their money.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good regret.
They go through
isn't it?
life so diligent and so responsible, always living within their means. They retire, and you only get one life. So if you've done it you played the game the right way, you won. You know what I mean? You saved up enough, you're good. Go enjoy it. Go enjoy it responsibly, but go enjoy it. Spend the money because you only get one life. And I find so many folks are like, no, we don't want to go do that. We don't have that. And they're sitting on, $2 million, right? And their 401ks or IRAs or what have you. And it's like, you only get one life. Not to mention, if you pass and it's in the IRA, that's one of the worst dollars you can leave from a tax standpoint to your heirs. So maybe you should start to spend some of it down. So regrets. What happens is, if they don't try to live their life to the fullest, someone gets sick or dies,
Yeah.
and it's like they work so hard to be responsible, to save up, to never enjoy it. What was the point of it?
And they could have done so
Why
many
did we?
things.
If you ask anyone, why did you put away for your retirement? So that I could do things later in life that I wanted to always do, right?
And then get sick or something.
And then it's done. It's so sad when you see someone work their whole life and they get so money-driven focused, and they retire and they're like, well, I'm gonna go do a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and it's too late. And it's sad. I see it all the time.
Oh, wow. That's
About people I'm
interesting.
talking to now that have dialysis, and they're new clients. And the thing is that that I want them to be able to enjoy it. Now, this is a blessing. They're going to be able to get that kidney transplant and be able to go enjoy it.
Okay.
But we're telling them,
Yeah.
really go have some fun, right?
All right. Thank you so much. We are at 3 o'clock down, but we're going to talk to him again on 13 News Now at 4:30. So tune in for that. And thank you so much for tuning in to Live Impact News. The next show comes on at 4 o'clock. So enjoy your afternoon and have a great evening. I'm Janet Roach.